All right. Welcome everybody to this workshop about phishing. And I hope to give you a little bit of a taste of the one of the most essential aspects, one of the most essential aspects of a red teaming engagement, and something for you to keep mind of whilst you're learning. I know a lot of us are just learning penetration testing techniques all day. We're just shoving into our brains different exploits. But I wanted to give you a glimpse of the people-oriented attacks that are going on and that are going to be essential once you're out there in the world. All right. So, yeah, you can share it. You can share this if you want. So, take a look over here at Sam Olsen. Now, I want you to imagine that we just got off of the bus. Sam Olsen, she just got onto the bus, but she forgot one crucial thing. Sam Olsen dropped her business card. Sam Olsen did not know that we are a malicious black hacker. A black hat hacker. So what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate how this was a crucial vulnerability that Sam Olsen just created for her company. Now, this may just seem like a business card to you, but look at what we have. We have Sam Olsen, her full name. We have her company name, and her company name is kind of crucial because with that, we can just start an entire OSINT scan on this company just based off knowing the name. And because we have this person's name as well, we can now associate the workers with the company, understanding the departments, mapping out their infrastructure online, seeing what publicly facing endpoints we can attack. And overall, it's going to be a nightmare for Sam Olsen once they figure out that it's all her fault. So anyways, let's get going. We have Sam Olsen. Now, the first thing we want to do is let's try to find Sam Olsen's email. Unfortunately, she did not place it on the business card. Not a very business move, if you ask me. But let's go ahead and bring out our Kali. Let's make a word list for Sam Olsen. All right. Uh, and make this bigger. Okay. So as you can see here, we're using the old username anarchy, and this is a tool taught in the what's called hack the box modules, and very crucially so. As you can see, all you have to put in is the user's name, and it makes this beautiful, simple word list that I'll show you. Just makes a simple word list with a bunch of permutations. Now you can get crazy with this if you want, but we're going to keep it simple for now. And once we have this, we're going to want to add the domain name. And if you're wondering, well, hey, buddy pal, all we read was the company's name. How the heck did you get the domain name correct? Oh, is there a buffering issue? Yeah, we can use AI. I bet AI will make a better. I bet AI will make a better word list. All right, I'm just gonna restart. I'll join. I'll leave and rejoin. Or do you meet someone else? All right, Zerzex is fine. All right, so if you're wondering, well, sir, how did you get the correct domain name? Well, let me show you. What we can do is if we have any idea of what Sam Olson's company could have as infrastructure, we know that most of these companies are using cloud service providers. And because of that, we can just go ahead and use a couple of enumeration checks to confirm what the kind of infrastructure is that they're dealing with, and on top of that, confirm the domain name. So if we go ahead and look at an identification that is common to all Azure infrastructures, which is the tenant ID. And we go to a website like this, what is my tenant ID? And we search Mega Big Tech on what is my tenant ID. Now, of course, if you are anything into web hacking, you'll know that because we can do this, this is enumeratable through automation. We can start getting some fuzzing going on in order to find the correct domain name. But long story short, this is the correct domain name because if we put this and search their tenant ID, we get a valid tenant ID. And so that's how we found the correct domain name. And so now that we have that, let's go ahead and add that to our word list using sed. And now if we cat it, we have all the usernames with the domain name. Now we have a bunch of potential emails. And this is important because we're trying to phish. However, before we move forward, someone mentioned that, hey, well, I bet I could use AI for this. And I just want to confirm to you that yes, in fact, you can use AI for this, and you can use AI for about any single thing that you ever do in hacking. And I'm not using a special hacker AI. I'm using ChatGPT, which is superior, and it's going to remain so just by the fact that it's advancing so fast and so much more quickly than other AIs. Sam Olson. Awesome. It started putting Samuel. All right, so once we have these emails, let's go ahead and find a valid email. And since we now know that they're on Azure, just by the fact that we searched their tenant ID and we found their tenant ID, let's go ahead and use this tool called O365 User Finder. And this is a spraying tool, but in our case, we're going to use it to find a valid email. So if we run this, we get a bunch of red, and lo and behold, we got Sam Olson with the format of first name dot last name at the company email, at the company domain name. Now, at this point, if you're anything into AD, you're probably shaking in excitement, saying, "Now I have the format of the email. I want to spray everyone. I want to go on LinkedIn and get all their names and spray all of them." Well, that's a valid technique, but for now, we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to go ahead and formulate a phishing email using this valid email. We're going to formulate a phishing email and try to catch this user's password. Now, how we're going to do that is we're going to use the SMB protocol using Responder. I really hope you're into your OCP journey far enough to know what this means, but basically, long story short, Responder can be used to sniff. Responder can be used to make fake things to kind of steal NTLM hashes and things like that. And that's what we're going to be doing today. And in the email, we're going to make this user send over, make a connection over to our responder. And by doing that, we're going to catch their NTLM. And we'll talk a little bit about the email after we set up our responder. And so let's talk about responder for a second. Now I know in the labs, what we do is we connect through a VPN. And when we connect through a VPN, we get access to communicate to the targets and the machines. But in the real world, we can't do that. In fact, companies completely block IP ranges that are meant for internet service providers. So if you're at home thinking, "Hey, look, I don't want to use I don't need to use a VPN. I can just do some port forwarding and open some ports on my router, and there you go. Now I'll access the target." Well, you still won't be able to do that because in the real world, those internet service providers and network ranges are completely blocked. Not only that, but the reason why we need to use cloud instances in order to attack our targets is because over here, for example, since the target is on Azure, if you're anything into defense, you'll probably be thinking, well, I'm going to block one of the things that we do if our infrastructure is on Azure is we completely block all IPs that are not on Azure. That's just one simple way to do it. And we make conditional access policies that completely prevent any other IP because, hey, if you're not on Azure, you're probably not one of our workers. And so let's go ahead and use a cloud instance in order to connect to this, in order to conduct this phishing operation. And so my cloud instance of choice is going to be Amazon. And I'll show you here what I'm working with. I got an EC2 instance on Amazon and it's based on Kali. And you can do this with a fresh free tier instance. And I urge you to do so because I'll reiterate what I said in the past, which was being able to utilize cloud instances is crucial for hacking and is a crucial red teaming skill that you need to have, because once you get into the real world where people are using multiple different cloud service providers, we're going to need to route things through the cloud, and we're going to need to cycle that routing in order to evade defensive mechanisms. Now here, we're just going to keep it simple. All we're going to be using is this cloud instance, my Kali over here. And I have my public IPv4 DNS, which I'm going to use to connect. And I'm going to connect through my other Kali. Let's see here, I'm connecting over here. And now I'm connected. And now that we're here, let's go ahead and start our responder. Sudo responder. Now our responder is set and ready. Let's go ahead and talk about the email. All right. So if we're sending a phishing email, what is the determining factor for our success? Well, this is when I want you to put on your trickery hats on. And you really got to get deceptive with this. Now, I kind of thought out a few kind of staples for how to make a phishing email work. And I'm going to brainstorm with you. If you find any ideas, please let me know in the chat. Firstly, I feel like it needs to be urgent. If it's urgent, the person is going to think less. And the less the person thinks, the better for us, because they're just going to go ahead and click right away. Admin update. Urgent requirement. And the next thing we can do is we can utilize good names and like important names. So over here, I put IT security team, mega big tech. with that 2024, it's really going to get them. And I also added Mr. Tanaka. And so I added Mr. Tanaka over here, and I'm using Mr. Tanaka's name because I did some OSINT and I found that Mr. Tanaka is a higher up. And so when I put an executive's name, if you put yourself in the shoes of the person who's getting attacked, you're like, oh, wait. So Mr. Tanaka's involved. And if I deny the request in this email, Mr. Tanaka is going to ask me to go into his office. But I just got done with that other incident with the coworker I had a fight with. Anyways, we got to make it urgent. We got to use big names. And overall, Sam Olsen's going down. So let's go ahead and put our correct IP. Put our correct IP in here. And make this all right. So but the technicalities of this is that they are going to need to press Windows R. So if you don't know what that is, I just pressed it right here. And what happens is this pops up. And when this pops up and they put this IP in there, it's going to connect to my responder on the left. All right, I got to put Sam Olsen. All right. Put Sam Olsen over here. All right. So Sam Olsen is taking her time a little bit. Anybody got any questions? Does anyone recognize responder? All right, since we got some time, let's actually talk a little bit about cloud instances. And I really want to nail home how valuable it is to be able to utilize these things. Okay, so we did previously already capture security PC SAM, just because I did this before, and I did make a video on it on my YouTube channel. But so since I already captured this, let's go ahead and see where I put it. I'm pretty sure there's a command to see previously captured hashes. And anybody know? Does anybody know what that command is? All right. So before we move forward, I just want you to take a quick look at the rules, the firewall rules of your instance, and what you're going to want to be setting them in order to do things like this, whether it's experimenting in your real life or doing any phishing labs or doing any labs, on your hack the box. If you want to experiment and say, I want to learn some real world skills, let me go ahead and use a cloud instance while I'm doing this stuff. These are the firewall rules, and I'm going to explain them to you real quick. Firstly, we have port 80. And 445 is what we're going to need for this scenario that we're doing. We have 443 HTTPS, and this is going to be crucial for your stagers. And if you're trying to set up a C2 on the cloud, which is also very crucial, got 22 so we can connect 8888 just for delivering custom payloads. I like to make my Python servers open on 8888, and then we got 137 to 138 and 139, and this stuff is also going to be for responder and similar things like that. All right, so anybody know how to see previously captured hashes on responder? Responder logs. All right, let me see. All right, you know what? I saved it as Sam hash, so all right. So I already saved it as Sam hash. So here we have the yeah, let me show you this this room. It's called Fish for Initial Access on Pwn Labs. And I'll paste it over here in the chat. So look at what we got now. Now we got the hash. We got the hash, and for Sam, this is going to lead to two things. So since we got the hash, we have a password, and that password could most likely be reused. Not only that, but we get the format of the password. Now I know what you're thinking when you're doing these labs and they're penetration testing labs, you think in terms of okay, we got hash, we use pass the hash, we unhash it, we use the password to connect. But I want you to think more of a large scale than that. If we're on a red team engagement, a password means much more than that. A password means that once we have that, once we get that first password, we can then break it down into a format. And from that format, we can start to apply that format onto word lists in order to spray all the users that we found. And overall, we need to start thinking on a more grander scale if we want to become the next level of penetration testing, which in my opinion is red teaming. And now that we have this, let's go ahead and crack it. So we're going to use Hashcat with the mode 5600. And as you can see, I've already cracked it. It's telling me to show it. And right here, I'm going to show you that it is the Dark Knight. And so Sam Olsen is really into Batman. But anyways, I think it's a bad day for her. And at this point, we can start getting into these creds. But that's beyond the scope of this because it is in Azure credentials. And so we'll be hacking Azure. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to the next phishing demonstration. Let's all go to international-am.com. All right, and I'm here already. Now opening this, if you weren't, I have a Williams. I have the video on my YouTube channel for all of these labs. But if you're coming from Hack the Box, you'll probably look at this website and say, "Can we start using FUF or something?" But sir, I want to remind you that this is a workshop about phishing. So we got to change our lens. No longer do we want to add dollar signs at the end of this URL and press launch intruder. No longer do we want to utilize the speed of the Go language and Fez with Thuff. Right now, we're just trying to look for the people. Look at this girl. Look at this guy. Are they friends? How can we utilize that to get access to their infrastructure? And if we scroll down here, we got a bunch of services. Keep scrolling, and we get some profiles. We got Lizzie Howlett. We got Jack Ferguson. We got Perry Durand. So let me ask you, if you're trying to attack a human being and you just got their full name, what is your protocol? Maybe start looking at their LinkedIn. Are they revealing something about the infrastructure, about the internal operations that weren't meant to be publicized? LinkedIn for sure. All right. Maybe do some recon NG. Start scanning them on the internet. Recon NG has a profiler module, extremely valuable. It searches the entire internet. Google dorking. Facebook. I don't know about Facebook, man. Is that does that still exist? All right. So let's see. Client portal. So if we go to the client portal and we have our burp sweep on, so let's go ahead and test something. The classic send a request and look at burp sweep. And we go ahead to the request and we see that there's nothing happening. However, if we take a deeper look, we'll see that it says invalid login, please contact support. Contact support at international-am.com to reset your password. Now, from a phisher's point of view, I'm really into resetting passwords. So if we go ahead and take this and we try to target one of the largest reasons and causes of error, which are humans, we can then go to our over to our email and send a message to support. And we're really going to reset our password. And let's see what the email is that I put. We have some users. Here we go. So let me put this in here and then let's talk about it. All right. So we got hello, Megan. And this time around, we're not going to use responder. We are going to make this person sign into their account using a code that leads us to access. So how that works is if I take out my PowerShell, and this is an authentication that you can find on multiple different cloud service providers, but in our case, we're going to be using PowerShell to make a code that gives us access to an Azure account. So if we say so there are multiple ways to do this, but for us, we're just going to use a simple little device code authentication. And as you can see here, we got a code. So what happens is once this user tries to authenticate and puts in our code instead of theirs, then we get access in our PowerShell of that session that user just started. And this is just to give you a glimpse of how you can utilize a phishing email to get access in different ways using access that you started, using an authentication protocol that you started, where you say, okay, I need the code. I'm about to log in. Give me the code. And then you take that session that you just started for authenticating and then try to maneuver in a way that makes the user continue that session for them to finish it. And then you're authenticated. So if we go here, you put in the correct code. And when you're doing this, we got to make the link that we want them to clickable, and it makes it more realistic. So we put insert link. Now it's blue. And now failure to log in. I don't think so. I think what it should be is failure will lead to suspension. And this is really going to pop out into the eyes of Megan, the support team, who's in charge of support. And she's gonna need some support if she fails to comply in her eyes. It's really problematic for her. It's all of a sudden, and it's before authorization expires, so there's time on the clock. I got to do this before I get completely, messed. And failure to comply may result in an account suspension. Not only that, but Mr. Tanaka is gonna personally go down to your office and completely rip you to shreds. And so that's why we put Mr. Tanaka's name in here. And Mr. Tanaka, like I said before, is an executive. And I'll show you how I found that is if we go over to the website, we did a little bit of OSINT on the website, and we say it might be an about or an executive team. So I'm pretty sure I found Mr. Tanaka somewhere around here. Contact. Maybe he's in home. Here he is. Dan Tanaka is the CFO. Now, if Dan Tanaka hears that you just costed his company money, and he has to put that in the financial reports that Megan just wasted our money and we lost this much revenue, then Dan Tanaka is going to tell the higher ups. God knows what the board is going to say about you. You'll be long gone in due time. So that's why I put Mr. Tanaka here. And of course, we are the IT security team of your company as always. And we add in some protocols like Plan A-12. You don't know what that means. Look, the IT team doesn't even know what that means. But if we add these special things in here, it makes it more realistic. It makes it more urgent. And overall, like I said, Megan is not going to have a good day. So let's go ahead and send this and watch ourselves get a nice little PowerShell session for this user's account. All right. So while that's happening, does anybody have any questions? I feel like is it not that complicated? Does no one have any questions? So Don, what we just did was okay. So all right. So let's go ahead. Let's go way back to the basics. Okay, Android portal. All right. So do you know Windows? Okay. Do you know Microsoft? So Microsoft has Active Directory. Active Directory is the on-premise infrastructure, the on-premise directory system or framework that we use. And this is what they teach us in Hack the Box. However, these on-prem companies that use Active Directory, sometimes they need to expand. And when they want to expand using an adequate method of scaling, in other words, we don't know how big we want to be, but we just know that we're going to keep getting bigger. Then the method of doing that is to use Azure, Microsoft Azure, which I want you to think about it is like the same stuff that we're using on-prem with the Active Directory mechanisms and functions, except it's all on the cloud. And when it's all on the cloud, we can control how big we're paying, how much we're paying based on what we're using. We can do all the same stuff. We can make virtual computers. We can make services. We can make websites. We can make even the email exchange is converted into Microsoft Outlook the outlook that we're using is the same outlook that we're phishing. When these people are getting phished, they're using their outlook that was provided by Microsoft and through Azure. And so what we're doing is we're targeting their Azure, we're targeting their Outlook, and we're targeting the people who are using them in order to capture those sessions, to capture the accounts and be able to log in or use them as if we're them. And with that, we now have entry into the infrastructure. Now we have internal enumeration to do, and we can start moving laterally inside. We can start privilege escalation, all the same stuff with a few different quirks because we're on Azure. And as you can see here, something happened, which is that we got our session. So this Megan went ahead and clicked on the link in the email, put in the code, because God knows what Mr. Tanaka wants to do to her if she doesn't. And then we now have access to this. So let me go ahead and read this. How do people do this at scale? Because in reality, you probably won't want to wait for a single employee to make a mistake. Well, yeah, I agree, Sculpt. And you're thinking in such a beautiful red teaming way, which is that, hey, look, if I'm going to attack, and this is something like even in any competitive scheme, when we attack, we want to maximize on the effect that attack has in order to reduce as much risk as possible. Look, if we have 10 attacks to do, just like you said, Scope, and we only send out one phishing email in the campaign, and then we wait like until 5 days to send the next one, then depending on the scenario that we're in, that might cause us a lot of alarm. Like people are going to be like, "Oh, another one," but we've already detected that the last one was malicious. Let's raise our defenses. Let's start our protocols. The blue teams that we're trying to attack, they have literal pages. They have literal pages that they open when, for example, in our case, a phishing email got sent. Well, let's open the phishing email protocol book. Okay, so we have to do X, Y, and Z. We have to close access. We have to prevent emails from being sent. We have to do blah 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 blah. And so you're perfectly correct in assuming that we have to work on the clock and perfectly engineer our attack in order to maximize on it, assuming what if we get detected, assuming that there's a window of operations, assuming, trying to get as many assumptions as possible of the blue team in order to adequately deceive them and deceive the worker. So now that we have this, like I said, at this point of the engagement, we now get in and we start to attack the Azure infrastructure. However, this is not about attacking Azure infrastructure as much as it is about phishing. So let's go into our last exercise, unless anybody has any questions. And the final exercise that we're going to do is going to involve Evil Jinx. We are using gmail.com. Yeah, I suppose so. However, that email is a support email. So if it can't communicate with outside of the domain, then you're not going to be supporting your clients. But that is a good point, is that even if they are allowed to communicate with external domains, there might be internal protocols to make alarms, such as if the email doesn't involve anything regarding the company. For that, I suppose we can maybe create our own domain, make it seem like it's closely related to some partner of theirs. Try to get creative. Anyways, we have Adrian here. Now, Adrian is a LinkedIn fanatic. Adrian goes to sleep liking people's posts on LinkedIn. And unfortunately for Adrian, we have caught him. Now he's in the grasp. Now we have gripped him with our red teaming eyes. And anyways, let's go ahead and do the same for Adrian. So this time around, we're going to be using Evil Jinx. And as you can see, we found Adrian. We got his email already. However, if you're wondering how you can get this email by only finding his LinkedIn, we can do the same protocol that we did before in order to find a username and then attach the domains and use the spraying tool in order to find a valid email. If you want, we could demonstrate that one more time just so it can really solidify. So we have Adrian Taylor. Go to username anarchy. We're going to make it adrian.text. And username anarchy is going to make a word list for Adrian, a word list of usernames. Now, why would we want to do that is because we want to see if we can find any valid username for Adrian. And if we can do so, then we can start to make we can make a valid email to Phish. So we got Adrian. Now we have a bunch of potential usernames for Adrian. And now we have a bunch of potential emails for Adrian. And I urge you to try this. When you're doing any AD labs, is try to find potential usernames and try to brute force common things like SSH, use Hydra with the things that you made and experiment and try to find things even when it's not a part of the lab, and it'll give you red teaming skills to just explore the world that you're going to need to know if you ever try to get into red teaming. So now let's spray to find the correct username. Now, just like all tools, there's going to be a false alarm over here, but this one over here is the correct email. And now let's go ahead and set up our Evil Jinx. So anybody know anything about Evil Jinx? Evil Jinx. So let's go over here to the GitHub of Evil Jinx and let's see what it says about itself. Standalone man-in-the-middle attack framework used for phishing login credentials along with session cookies, allowing for the bypass of two-factor authentication. And so we're going to use this specially and specifically for this purpose. We're going to bypass multi-factor authentication, something that prevents you from logging in from somewhere else as an attacker, because the user who's logging in has to pull out their phone and say, okay, I just got a code and I can't log in without putting this code that got sent to my phone. And so we're going to bypass that because the user that signs in for us is going to give us not only their creds, but they're also going to give us the session cookies, which completely devoids the need to confirm something on our phone or anything of the sort. And so let's set that up. I already showed you the firewall rules that are involved in this. However, let me show you what we are doing again. We're going to be using the EC2 that I have. This EC2 is made in Kali. I made it so you can, when you start an EC2, you can choose what you want it to be. An EC2 is a virtual machine on AWS. And you can do this on any cloud service provider. It doesn't need to be AWS. However, all of them have the option for you to do things on for free. And so you can make a virtual machine for free. And in this case, I made Kali out of the box, so it wasn't for free. I think I pay like $5 per month. However, if you make a free instance, a free tier instance, it's completely free. And then inside of that instance, you can completely change it to become Kali. It's possible. You can even experiment with that on your VBox if you want. You can convert any Linux to Kali. And again, we have the security groups that are required for this. So you're always going to want to change the firewall rules of your instance. And this is something that you actually have to do for any machine, except we don't need to do it doing Hack the Box labs and things like that. It's all ready for us because we just have a VPN, we take it, and then we use it. And unfortunately for us, that means that we completely skip crucial networking skills. But if you hear me out to experiment with cloud instances and you set up firewall rules like this and you try to do labs with an instance, you'll gain crucial networking skills. You'll gain crucial cloud using skills that are going to help you once you're doing your red teaming. And over here, as you can see, it's the same rules. We got port 80, 445, 443, 22, 8888, 137, 138. And 139. Yeah, roasted mushrooms, I agree. And one thing I did when I first got into the cloud was I took a I took a prepaid that had no money in it, and I used that. And so there's no way that you can charge me if there's no money in the prepaid. And also you can start a bank account, use it real quick, and then close the bank account. I got um I got a bunch of ways to do that, but yeah, you got to stay safe, man. They might charge you. Like I hear other red teamers coming into chats and being like, "Yeah, I just got charged thousands of dollars. I didn't even know what I was using on AWS." But but yeah, so now that we're here, we got Adrian. Let's go ahead and set up our responder. So if we go back to our AWS, so I'm in the Kali terminal, but I am not in Kali. I'm in my Kali on AWS because I SSH there. So now that we're here, let's go ahead and set up Evil Jinx. Got 18 minutes. Yeah, bro, I feel for you, man. I am, uh, kind of a side note. If you want free credit on AWS, I got thousands of dollars of free credit and I use that for all of my hacking. And the way I did that was I made a company. I mean, I'm making a company, but I didn't do this on purpose, but you should do it on purpose. Make a company and make a website for the company. And you can make a website for free using their own infrastructure, using a free tier instance. And once you make a free tier instance and you name your website, you can name it whatever, you can then apply for a grant that is approved for automatically. And that grant provides you with thousands of dollars of credit for AWS. Now you have that entire world of services, virtual machines, um, uh, IP rotation, all of that for free. And I only did it once. But I heard from other people that this is a thing that companies and people do on the daily. Once you get one grant, you get another grant, and then you keep getting the higher grants, and you keep getting grants, and people do that regularly to get as much money as you. So Z7, you can do this for all cloud service providers. Yeah, AWS startup credits, and even on Google, they have free grants, and even on Azure, they have free grants. So it's really all about what you want. So let's see where we are here. All right, Evil Jinx setup. Okay. All right. So let's talk about domains. Let's talk about the domains. So for Evil Jinx, we need a real domain. And although you can pay for a domain, which I did, I paid for a domain through through the default for Google Workspace, which is Squarespace. And I'll show you my settings for this domain. However, you can do this for free, but the moral of the story is that if you're going to want to fish and you want to send someone to a malicious place, you need that malicious place to exist. You need to set it up maliciously so that once they get there, they get tricked and they start clicking something, or they get something gets stolen from them. And for us, what we're going to do is we're going to use our malicious domain right here, Hamada Security. You can go on my website to see my services if you want. And we're going to use this malicious domain in order. It's not malicious, but it's just one subdomain that's malicious. In order to make the user sign in through us, and we're going to be the man in the middle in order to capture their sign-in details, take that, and then sign in for ourselves and act like that user and completely bypass all the phone confirmation, two-factor authentication stuff. And so right here, I have the configurations. Now I'm going to need to change these because every time that I use my cloud instance, I restart it. I only start my cloud instance when I need to use it. And so because of that, the IP changes. Now this is safer, but mostly it's because of costs. If you keep your stuff on, it's going to keep incurring costs. So right here, I'm going to be putting the correct DNS over again into my domain configurations. Into this phishing subdomain, which is necessary. So is anybody lost? I can go over what we did so far. Yeah, so what we did was we found this user through LinkedIn. And when we found this user, where is he? So we found Adrian Taylor on LinkedIn. When we found him, we made valid usernames. When we found valid usernames, we made valid emails knowing that he's from the company Mega Big Tech. When we did that, we sprayed using the spraying tool only to find a valid email. And now that we have a valid email, we want to phish him using Evil Jinx, the framework of phishing that is going to capture his session when he logs on. Imagine you got two guys over here. This red phone is one guy, and this brown phone is the other guy. And they want to talk. This guy is about to give him personal information, okay? So I'm coming in here with Evil Jinx. I'm snooping right in between them, and I'm going to capture that secret in order to use it myself and act like the red guy that gave the secret in order to authenticate as him. And after that, now we want to set up the Evil Jinx. And how we do so is firstly, we got to set up our domain. So I set up this domain with the phishing subdomain. And with the phishing subdomain, I put some nested subdomains on it, just as per the rules of the Evil Jinx module that we're going to use, as per the requirements of it. And I put Outlook as one, I put www as one, and I put device login as one. And so all of this is for Evil Jinx to run its module and completely trick that target into doing what we want, which is to log in and then sending us over the session cookies so we can log in as him. So now that we have all of these, let's go ahead and start our Evil Jinx. Here we are. All right. Okay. Look at this monster symbol. Now, I've already set it up because I did the lab before, but let me go ahead and show you how it works. So firstly, we have to obviously add the IP of the malicious location of Evil Jinx. That seems pretty self-explanatory. Let's go ahead and tell Evil Jinx what the IP is for where our malicious server is. All right, we set that up. Now we configure the domain that we have. So the domain that I just showed you, what I set up is configure domain phishing.hematosecurity.com. And now we run the fishlet. So we told it the IP, we told it the domain. Let's go ahead and run this fishlet that we added when we ran the Evil Jinx. All right. Now let's go ahead and enable the fishlet. And if you're still wondering, a fishlet is a module for phishing. And the fishlet that we're going to be using is called O365-MFA because it's meant to target an MFA login session. A O365 login session for that completely bypasses MFA. And so, if you're familiar with Outlook, the thing that's like Gmail, this is going to make the user log in just like as if they're logging into Outlook, they're logging into their Outlook, but then it's going to provide us with the credentials and the cookies. And now that we set it up and we ran it, now what we can do is we can make a lure. Now from the name, you probably guessed that a lure is the malicious URL. And so once you get this lure, as you can see here, this lure is it's very obvious that this is a malicious link or that this is not my Microsoft Outlook link. And so because of that, what we would do here realistically is we would either configure our domain. So when you're making your domain, you make it to precisely the name of the website that you want it to act like. So Microsoft login or whatever it is with the L being a 1 or something of the sort. You can take this link itself and then change this link in order for it to seem obscured. I know that you can probably take this link and put it into something else to make a completely different name. And there are a bunch of ways that you can go about it. It's all about your creativity. And it's all about the specific scenario, tailoring your attack to the specific scenario and the specific person who you're attacking. The more you know about them, the more OSINT scanning you do on them and on their company, the more successful you're going to be once you launch your attack. And so, yeah, the more creative and deceptive you are, the better you're going to be in the field of red teaming. And yeah, so now once we have this, let's go ahead and take this and make our phishing email. All right. So we are just saying, hello, Adrian. And of course, we got all the urgency stuff again. Before authorization expires, if you fail to comply, you're going to be suspended. Tanaka, all of that. And we got a notice of suspension, urgent. And the user, Adrian. All right. So I just sent it to Adrian. Adrian's going to look at that like, all right, I got to do what I got to do. It's not my fault. So while this is going on, anybody got any questions? By the way, is there anything specific that you guys would rather see as a workshop? Good question, Sculpt. That went for Amazon, Airbnb, and Spot, Facebook. If you want to send them something that looks like Facebook, oh man, you get into their Facebook. That's when it's really game over. Now you can see who's Tom talking to. Fishlet Dev Workshop. Oh, you mean you want a Fishlet Dev Workshop? Okay. All right. Yeah, maybe. So this is still not happening here. Okay. So bypass Azure. So if you're wondering, this is the lab, and these are all three labs that I used in this demonstration. Fish for initial access, bypass Azure MFA with evil drinks, leverage device code phishing for initial access. And this is the lab that we're doing right now. If you're wondering about Palm Labs and these kind of labs, as you can see, it gives you a complete guide on how to do everything. So the guides are always on, and you can choose to do them. You can choose to do your own thing. See what else there are. A little bit about Palm Labs is we have labs for the cloud, AWS, GCP, Azure, and we got red and blue. Currently, the biggest pool of labs is on AWS. There are a lot of free labs. Let's see how to show you the free labs. So as you can see, there are a lot of free labs. And also, besides these free labs, you can see here the pink means free. Besides these free labs, there's also this platform over here. And this platform is currently completely free because it has just launched. And because it just launched, it's making all of their labs for free for people to test them. It looks like it might be down right now. Oh, here it is. So it's called Infinity. And yeah, like I said, it's all for free right now. And look at how many labs we got for free. And so it's really a matter of using your time wisely when you have all these free resources. And you might be like, okay, man, you're exaggerating. Like, free labs are everywhere. However, I know that there are a lot of labs for AD and things like web that are free. But when it comes to cloud, like, I was scraping the entire internet to find free Google Cloud labs, and this platform is one of the only ones who has some free Google Cloud labs. But anyways, I'm really sorry that this isn't working. I turned the lab on, so that's as much troubleshooting as you're gonna get out of me. But long story short, let me show you what happens. Is that after this, we capture them. We capture their cookies, and then we get this password. I need a holiday. And at that point, we start to attack everything. Um, this is the attack path of this, and this is the attack path of the other one. As you can see, we got some lateral movement between on-prem and cloud, which is very nice that they do on PwnLab. And for the phished for initial access, this is the attack path for that. And yeah, it's really sorry, but this last exercise, it's not really working out. The evil jinx exercise, it's the fake user is not responding. Perhaps it's down or it needs some kind of maintenance. Thank you very much for attending the workshop. Are these spreadsheets? Yeah, I made these. I make diagrams for all of my labs, because if you make diagrams and you make mind maps, then you'll be able to understand the overall view of what's going on, and you'll be able to make connections. And I also make databases on Excel for the bigger labs. Like, if you're doing a pro lab, you can make an Excel database in order to keep track of all your compromised users. That really helps, because if you're doing a big lab like a pro lab, you can go to school or go somewhere and come back and you completely forgot what you did. So you make a database, make diagrams. The more organization, the better. But yeah, thank you very much for this workshop. I mean, for coming over to this workshop. If you want to see any other workshop, let me know what you want to see and I'll make one for you. Yeah, you're welcome, Roasted. Next month, I'm going to be making a bunch of presentations about Active Directory, because I'm going to attempt the OSCP again. So next month, watch out for my Active Directory presentations. Yeah, let me post my YouTube. I also stream every day on Twitch, and I stream my labs, what I'm doing. If you want to come and ask anything or anything like that. I just stream whenever I can, if I'm not eating or I'm not reading the Quran. Man, you guys asked zero questions. Like, what is up with that? No problem. All right. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming over here. What's the topic basically in your hands-on workshop? It's about phishing. Thank you very much, Sculpt. Thank you guys, and see you.